Alright, false alarm. We're coming back now, and, yeah. Danger, danger, yeah, 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 danger, danger.
Here's how much money Tim the Tatman made from his 4 YouTube channels last month, starting with more Tim the Tatman, which made $16,000. Then there's the Bods channel, which made $5,000. Tim the Tatman 2 made $15,000, and the main channel made $48,000. To add it together, it made a nice $84,000. Here's how much money Tim the Tatman made from his 4 YouTube channels last month, starting with more Tim.
This is one of the craziest videos I've ever seen go viral on the internet.
Darren Carter, you think men like these are afraid of an uneducated, 125-pound punk like you? I'll meet you on solid ground anytime, anywhere. Light or heavy, makes no difference to me. You won't walk away. Men like us, son, we do dumbbell presses with weights bigger than you. And the convicts in jail, most of those men are good people who just found themselves crossed with the law. And they don't respect you or any punk like you. They'll toss you around like a rag doll.
But who is this dude calling out, and what is the backstory? The end of this viral internet call-out helped Darren Carter change his life. He ended up with a $1 million record deal from Cash Money Records, got out of the gang life, and started making music. And just shortly after that video went viral, the Louisiana sheriff captain ended up resigning due to pressures that were given to him because of that video. But what do you guys think? Was this sheriff's captain out of line, or is this the type of law enforcement we actually need in this country? This is one of the craziest videos I've ever seen go viral on the internet.
You think men like these are afraid of an uneducated, 125-pound punk like you?
The experience of trekking through the Mexican borderlands is a surreal one. Everywhere you look, you see free-range cows, vacas, 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 and signs asking not to leave garbage. Still, there's a ton of trash, but a lot of it's pretty interesting. You see empty cases of beer, diapers full of poo, Venezuelan flags, printed copies of unanswered emails from U.S. Border Patrol, and a delicious half-eaten Snickers bar just for you.
Hay mucha gente de Venezuela aquí. Aquí hay mucha gente de todos lados.
As we begin to walk down a large hill, one of the coyotes stops us and tells us important information.
No es que sea peligroso, simplemente es mucha cautela, porque mucha cautela. Sí, así nadie sabe nada. No saben nada de nosotros.
They say the cartel controls this particular human smuggling route, and that as freelancers, they failed to pay the coyote fee, which is usually and they also didn't tell them we'd be filming. So, in the event that a collector rolls up demanding money, I have to act like we're just a couple of bros on a chill hike. Okay, let me go on. Truly seeing no other option, I follow them down the hill and into the woods.
We're walking through the forest. We're about a mile from the Rio Grande, which obviously is the natural barrier into the state of Texas. So we're gonna follow the homies here. As you can see, there's like a ton of discarded underwear, socks, garbage, empty bottles of water, presumably left behind by previous migrants. It's estimated that just last year alone, roughly 2 million people entered the U.S. this way.
As we continue to walk, I get my first view of the river. This spot, though, they say, is way too hot to cross. Not because of border patrol missile, but because of undercurrents, which are the leading cause of death.
The currents will sweep you under that water in just seconds. Border Patrol agents rescued 2 migrants struggling to stay afloat in the fast-moving water.
Hay veces cuando tu familia pierde a alguien en el río, es normal que
Just let those kids that they hold on.
sí, mucha gente sufre, llora demasiado solo para poder llegar, pero hay veces que pues, yo me pongo a pensar y que digo que la gente es así, o porque no sé si me lo puedo explicar. Todos tienen un sueño o una... pero
The coyote, like many others, don't understand why migrants would go to such lengths just to get to the U.S. But his perspective is an informed one. He spent most of his life in a border town, and for a year lived in San Antonio and worked as a dishwasher, where he said he felt alienated, exiled, overworked, and depressed.
he estado encerrado, trabajando encerrado, es lo único.
But does admit the service wages were much higher, yet so was the cost of living, so he was barely able to make any money. This equation is something that very few economic migrants seem to be aware of, which points to a larger issue, which is the widespread proliferation of American dream propaganda in developing nations. Every migrant that I've spoken to, from Senegal to Guinea to Guatemala and to Bangladesh, believe, without any prior experience or really contemporary information about the problems facing American society, that America is paradise, heaven on earth, a place of free elections, free press, and unlimited social welfare programs.
I did been swiping for easy. Go to the bank and extend it lease. This is better than selling me. I made some right that I couldn't believe.
But unfortunately, this is not the case.
The Department of Justice says a rapper who bragged in a music video about getting rich from an unemployment scam is now facing federal charges.
America is in a bad spot in a number of ways, and it seems that most migrants are not aware, as I mentioned, about the skyrocketing cost of living yet stagnant minimum wage in every major U.S. city that's eroding the working class in cities like San Francisco, where many lifetime city natives have been priced out in the past couple years.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's impossible to live here. The rent is rising. Minimum wage is the same. No parking. If you get a parking ticket, nigga, that's a whole check right there. You need to work 3 jobs just to live in a 1-bedroom in Zombieland.
But most migrants seem to be programmed with the opposite vision of
Zombie,
America and seem to have been sold by an aggressive multi-generational PR campaign that, in my view,
America.
has totally misled
Fuck
and left
yeah.
them in the dark on very important information. They're unaware, for example, about the ongoing cold class war in all of America's major cities, or that the majority of U.S. citizens have been strategically divided into politicized consumer groups by the investment firms who control the mainstream media. They've been using the border issue to stoke the flames of an internal culture war between Americans by pulling on liberal heartstrings with migrant sob stories, while simultaneously stoking conservative anger by blaming the global economic crisis on Joe Biden. And both angles are deployed by the same propaganda apparatus whose primary goal was to generate revenue by bringing clicks which will collapse, but not yet. In the meantime, legacy media's purpose is to distract and divide. Anyways, back to the forest. Me and the coyotes, and there she is, the U.S. of A., home to bald eagles, corn dogs, and gangster rap. drive through Starbucks, Roll Tide Rush Weekend, apple pie, and the Island Woods. I also see the barbed wire the newsman has been hollering about for the past 4 weeks.
Razor wire remains up along the U.S.-Mexico border even after the Supreme Court ruling allowing federal immigration officials to remove it.
Texas is arguing that razor wire is for current migrants from crossing into the country illegally. It appears that President Joe Biden and Texas Governor Greg Abbott have involved in a vicious dispute about having more or less razor wire right there. Biden wants less and Abbott wants more. But it doesn't matter because the majority of river embankments on the American side have no barbed wire at all. It's a non-issue and a distraction, designed to create controversy from afar. He says this is the perfect place to cross, but he's worried it's a bit too deep.
Y si él mira que está hondo, busca otro lado. Si no está hondo, pues por ahí pasamos los cuatro agarrados y pasamos.
¿Ustedes van a pasear con nosotros a los Estados Unidos? This may sound a bit amateur, but I didn't realize up until this point that we were actually going to cross the river ourselves. I was expecting just like a tour of their route, but obviously they had other plans.
Y luego ahí ya cruzamos para los Estados Unidos.
Sí.
Ah, sí, como $5,000.
God damn it. It was also going to cost us $5,000 a piece. This was not discussed, but I wasn't sure what to do. So, eso es la primera parte.
La primera parte es esta.
Okay.
Oh. Y no necesitamos conseguir alguien que nos levante. Hay cuenta es un carro y ya nos sube hasta San Antonio.
Okay.
Pero tenemos que caminar, hay cuenta, hasta Uvalde.
At this point, it became quite obvious that I was in far too deep. The coyote told me that after crossing the river, we had to walk from Eagle Pass to Uvalde, Texas, which is over 67 miles on foot. How would this be possible? According to Apple Maps, it said it would take over 24 hours. We had no water. Plus, we apparently owed these guys $5,000. Looking back, I would have asked to turn around, but we were in far too deep. And while they're being pretty cool, you never know when a switch could flip or something. Abruptly, the younger coyote asked me to duck down because a border patrol boat was speeding by.
Es un montecito. Este es todavía un monte. Y después de este monte sigue ya lo americano.
Okay. ¿Quieres vivir en los Estados Unidos? ¿Te gusta vivir aquí en México?
Sí, quiero vivir en Estados Unidos. Sí, a veces después. Ahorita aquí estoy bien.
Sí. ¿Ya 18 años? ¿Hay mucho tiempo? 19.
Sí, 19.
Okay, hay mucho tiempo para
Hay mucho tiempo.
entrar. The other coyote asks me to give him the 100 pesos that I brought along for emergency purposes. He says someone spotted us and he's asking for money. Perhaps naively, I approach the man to see what's going on. The man who asked us for money is a bit strange. He seems to function as both a tax collector and someone who provides first aid and flotation devices to migrants. Whatever his title was, or who he works for, I don't know. But there was no option but to bring this man along. Hola, ¿qué pasa? ¿Puedes decir tu nombre y dónde eres?
Me llamo... Soy de aquí de Piedras Negras.
¿Qué haces hoy?
Pues aquí apoyando a la gente que va cruzando, estamos apoyando en cruzan y a veces no traen su chaleco, no traen protección para el agua, ¿verdad? No traen salvavidas y pues los estamos apoyando, ¿verdad? En eso, para que no vaya a haber un accidente o algo, porque la gente no conoce el río y llega y nada más quiere brincar y cruzan con los niños en los brazos y pues yo también tengo hijos y eso es lo que...
As we learned in our previous episode, the Rio Grande is 4 feet and 9 inches deep, and 58% of Mexicans reported as not being able to swim. So many children and older grandmothers who try and cross the river into America but are below 4'9" end up drowning.
3 migrants have died near Shelby Park in Eagle Pass. A woman and 2 children drowned in the Rio Grande River. 4 migrants, including an infant, have drowned in Eagle Pass.
Lo que muchas veces no miran ellos, ¿verdad? O sea que pueden tropezar o algo y en lo que se tropiezan el niño puede agarrar agua o algo. Y sí, pues a veces no les ayudamos, pero les avisamos, ¿verdad? Es peligroso, aparentemente se mira tranquilo, pero sí hay lugar donde está hondo y puedes ir caminando y de repente pisas y te hundes y poquita corriente que haya en ese pedazo te lleva.
Sí, ¿qué tipo de trabajo haces?
Creo yo, anda entre los $7,000 y $10,000 entre entrar a los Estados Unidos. Me queda cerca del río y vengo aquí al río a ver qué puedo ayudar y a ver si me dan algo de dinero.
Gracias, mi amigo, para la entrevista. Sí. Despite his Good Samaritan framing, we had no option but to pay him for his services. Still, apparently this is a bad place to cross. Our coyote points to the water to show me something.
Pues hay varias veces que hay muertos ahí en las pelotas naranjas. Yo le digo las pelotas de la muerte, porque cada vez hay muertos ahí.
He points to the orange buoys in the river, installed by the state of Texas to deter migrants.
A disturbing discovery at the border. Security officials found a body trapped in the buoys recently placed in the river across from Eagle Pass.
The coyote says that on multiple occasions he's seen dead bodies trapped in the buoys, so we'll need to keep walking. But stops to tell me that he believes the Border Patrol boat from earlier has been following us using infrared heat sensor cameras. Out of nowhere, the first aid collector man starts hauling ass. My coyote follows him. Naturally, I run after them for about 10 minutes until we finally get back to a new spot in the forest. Once again, they bring up money.
So kind of what they were saying was that right now the standard market rate for an average border crossing with a coyote is between $3,000 and $5,000.
I'm not sure how they expected me to pay them, but I wasn't worried about that. My primary concern was getting back into America. Once there, I'm sure we could easily arrange some kind of wire transfer or something. But I didn't feel that a remote forest in Mexico was the place to negotiate, so I kept going.
All right, so we just made it on a maybe mile-and-a-half hike through the woods, and now we're here on the banks of the Rio Grande.
I hear the sound of a machete striking a tree behind me in the distance, so I turn around.
¿Está bien? ¿Tú conoces? Alright, yeah, the machete just came out of nowhere. I guess it's kind of normal to want to chop down sticks and shit out here. But yeah, definitely not the most chill thing to see right now.
My coyotes assure me that all is well. He was just making sure that we paid the first aid men. And after a final plunge deep into the woods, we found ourselves at the perfect embankment. There were no orange buoys in the river here, and very limited razor wire on the American side. So they said we'd cross here.
Alright, so as you guys can see, we're at the end of the journey here. Right here behind me is the Rio Grande. So over yonder is the United States.
Much like the initial entry point into the forest, migrants had left behind a ton of garbage here.
We got hella garbage here. We got a children's coloring book right here. I hope they're doing well, but I must say they did not do a very good job. But it's all good. Let kids be kids.
There was also a bunch of dudes there, just hanging out.
We got like a Mexican Ernest Hemingway type figure down here.
Just fishing and wishing people the best of luck.
Be careful. You have a good trip. Be careful.
I'm not sure why, but Ernesto's words gave me the confidence boost that I needed, and the coyotes said it was go time. See, after stripping down to my boxers and taking off my shoes, the reality of the risk that we're about to take begins to set in. At this point, I wonder if this whole thing was worth it. After all, many migrants have died on this exact journey.
In 2019 alone, 109 people lost their lives in the Rio Grande River. And last month, the body of a young girl was pulled from that body of water after an unsuccessful attempt to cross.
I see a picture of a young boy on the ground and begin to wonder, did he make it across to America for a better life? There's no way to know. There was also no time to ask questions. The first coyote was already in the water, and it was my turn. Step by step, I inch myself down. And after a few small strides, I reach the water. From there was only one way to go. In. As I inched through the rushing green water, I began to feel the undertow, the rapid current beneath the river's surface I'd been warned about. And
And so my coyote asks that we link arms to avoid the rushing currents. I see an entanglement of razor wire that lets me know we're almost home, and Larry Susan's close behind me. Thank God, the experience is finally almost over. I breathe a sigh of relief as my feet touch American soil. I was finally home, in the land of the free, where the bald eagle flies. Sure, we had 76 miles to go to the valley, but at least I made it across the river, and away from Mexico for now. Wait. Suddenly, my coyote ducked for cover and told us to be quiet.
Manos arriba. Ven pa' acá, usted. Hands up. Speak English. Get up. Let me see your hand. Got any guns on you? No, sir. Face away from me. We're journalists. Usted, manos arriba. Bájate. Súbete. You too. You speak English?
Yeah.
Stand up.
I couldn't believe it. Border Patrol had been watching us the entire time since we entered the forest,
Yeah, I can clearly hear him swimming.
and set up an ambush on the American side to apprehend
You
us.
two, face away from me. Walk backwards over here. Hey, ven pa' acá, wey.
Immediately, my coyotes jumped back into the water, swimming back to Mexico.
Come back, over here. Get over here.
This left us alone in Border Patrol country.
There was one guy here, he obviously ran back, and then the two USCs right there.
After crossing the river, Andrew and his cameraman were arrested by United States Border Patrol for illegal entry into the United States. They did not realize this, but what they did was a federal felony offense called failure to report. After being arrested, they were driven to a migrant processing center and placed under detainee status and held for several days, much of which was spent in solitary confinement. Thankfully, Channel 5 personnel were able to recover their memory cards, which is how you were able to see this footage. But our team also took things a step further while Andrew was detained. Using details he gave to us over the jail phone, we hired a video game designer to create a graphic recreation of the things he saw and heard on the inside. And we compiled these animations and voiceovers into a documentary. If you'd like to see it, go to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/channel5. Again, that's www.patreon.com/channel5. As many of you know, we are primarily crowdfunded and supported by your monthly contributions. Free the guys and free C Mac the Logue.
Channel 5 Live, worldwide, Hollywood and Vine.
Fuck the authority, Channel 5 News.
Channel 5. We don't fuck with custers. 5 is the best number.
Vacas.
We got new merch, some new colorways.
Buckets just full of like magazines, switches, silencers, beams, all this crazy ass shit.
And was it hard to navigate that? Is it hard to stay in the pocket in there and not just like jump out or?
Well, because one thing you learn from being a hitchhiker,
In the middle of the Sonoran Desert, hidden behind Border Patrol vehicles and makeshift tents, were hundreds upon hundreds of migrants, all of who hopped the U.S.-Mexico border in the past couple hours. It was a shocking sight to see. People from all around the world herded like cattle on the cold desert floor, sitting in silence, awaiting an uncertain future. Despite these conditions, spirits are generally high. Because most of these people have traveled days, weeks, and even months just to get here. About 3/4 of them are single males, but there are also many children.
America is at a breaking point with record levels of illegal immigration.
These people's lives are at the center of the national conversation, but they could care less. They've finally made it to the land of opportunity, a nation allegedly founded upon the principles of liberty and radical individuality, where anyone from any walk of life can make something out of themselves.
I guess they call them detainees. They've been walking on this road. This road runs for 12 miles, 12 or 13 miles. What it does is it parallels our border fence. On the other side of it, on the Mexican side of it, is Mexican Highway 2. So the cartels have a really easy job. They just bring the people off of Highway 2 and then through the wall. The wall has many of those cuts that I told you about earlier, where they run the people through. And so the immigrants just walk down this road.
Right, so as you guys can probably see right here, that's a group of 5 migrants who just hopped the border, and they're walking directly into Border Patrol custody to join the seated group of migrants that we just encountered. So typically when you think of border, at least me personally, I thought it was like people hop, try to evade Border Patrol and make their way to a large U.S. city to start a new life. But in this case, you can see they are putting themselves directly in the custody of Border Patrol to begin the asylum-seeking process. Like they're not trying to evade or anything. A Border Patrol agent agreed to speak with us but didn't want to go on camera. Normally, agents are not allowed to be interviewed, and all press requests are typically deferred to a public information officer who rarely ever responds. But in this instance, the agent seemed exhausted and eager to tell me what was going on.
There's very few of them evade.
How come?
Well, because if they allow them in, they don't evade because they'll let them come in, they'll load them in the vans, they'll take them up to Phoenix, give them a $3,000 gift card and a cell phone, and send them wherever they want to go. You get a court date, you have 2 years to show up in court. That's the reason they give them a phone, because they're saying if they don't give you a phone, I don't know when I'm supposed to go to court. So they gave them a phone.
At first, I was confused what the Border Patrol agent meant when he kept referring to they.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It appears that Border Patrol is the one handling and processing the migrants, but they're only the first step in the chain of bureaucratic authority that goes up to the Department of Homeland Security, then finally up to the Department of Justice's Executive Office for Immigration Review, which is more or less controlled by the Biden administration, who've taken a much more open-arms approach to immigration after pulling back Title 42 just about a year ago. But despite pushing for more lax border laws in comparison to President Trump,
The wall just got 10 feet tall, believe me.
Biden hasn't done anything to make the process of applying for citizenship any faster. In fact, it still takes between 18 to 24 months to get a response on a citizenship application. And it's actually possible to be denied citizenship if you fail to memorize and regurgitate fun facts about the history of America.
How many amendments does the Constitution have?
It has 27 amendments.
Good. Which group of people was taken to America and sold as slaves?
Africans.
Good. Excellent.
So it makes sense why a lot of migrants, many of whom are facing desperate circumstances, avoid the citizenship application process altogether. I wonder if my great-great-grandparents, who were economic refugees that fled Ireland in the wake of the potato famine, experienced such an arduous process when they arrived to America illegally. Unlike these migrants who arrived at the southern border, my family arrived on boats to Ellis Island 115 years ago. Much like Roberto and Alberto, who we interviewed in our previous episode, Arizona Border Crisis, they found themselves in a strange new land with pennies to their name. They had no particular plan, but what they did have was the willpower and determination to work as hard as they could with the hopes of one day providing a brighter future for their family. And it worked. And that's all thanks to Grandpa Jerry, who died 30 years before I was born. I wonder if he was asked who Paul Revere was, or what the Boston Tea Party was all about. Was there a concern back then that these migrants weren't American enough to join our society? Or is that way of thinking a new phenomenon, driven by the paranoia of a white minority?
An analysis
analysis of census data from the Brookings Institute projects the number of white Americans will fall below 50% for the first time ever in about 20 years, 2045.
Or perhaps it's less about race and more about the burden of inheriting poverty when we have so many problems of our own. I guess times have changed a lot too. It's not like there was fentanyl or cartels back then, and most immigrants plan to move to America forever, not stack up money here and go back home. I don't have the answers, but I do have a lot of questions. One question in particular: how can we as Americans expect to propagandize the entire world with our dream through Hollywood, the music industry, and the testimonies of self-made American billionaires, while simultaneously exploiting the labor, crops, and raw earth materials of developing nations, freezing the economies of our political opponents and trade sectors, and creating rival drug cartels with our insatiable appetite for cocaine, fentanyl, meth, and heroin, and not expect a global economic refugee crisis at the southern border. But that being said, no matter where you stand on illegal immigration, I think we can all agree that our system, as it currently stands, is broken.
We have a legal process for immigrants, and it's being done by some, but it takes forever. You know, so it needs to be sped up for those with skills and those who want to come and build skills and be Americans and be proud to be here and work and better their lives and their families. And the treacherous journey.
All recipes already known. Holy shit.
And so I just hope that 2024 we can rectify this problem and help those.
See, it says 61 out of 67.
All of the migrants who were walking directly into Border Patrol's hands were approaching from a westbound road called Puerto Blanco Drive, a narrow dirt pathway running through the national park. So I decided to drive down the road to see if I could find some migrants to speak to. First, we see some signage warning us of what's to come. Truthfully, I don't expect to see much, but as I continue down the road, they seem to be spawning out of thin air from all angles, most of them in a rush, we're told, because their cartel coyotes told them they had to go to the Border Patrol facility by nightfall in order to be transferred to a larger processing center or dropped off in a major city. But I noticed a group of a few of them walking pretty slowly, so I called them over to the car to see if they want to talk.
How you guys doing? Where are you guys from? From Senegal? You're in America. How does it feel? What's the plan?
Traduction. Traducteur.
Okay.
Okay. Can you guys tell me about your life in Senegal? How was your life in Senegal?
Well, how you guys doing? Welcome to the United States. Where you from, man? Senegal. You guys are from Senegal? Yeah. Okay. You speak any English? Oh, cool. So, how was your guys' life in Senegal?
The life in Senegal is very, very hard.
Chaos and unrest in Senegal once again. The opposition leader urged supporters to take to the streets to protest against his jail sentence.
The government is bad. Opposition are very difficult to manifest her problem. We are here to get another life for our family, for our people.
Man, fuck, bro. Everybody want to come to America, though. So can't blame them.
The American people is a good people. They are democracy. They are good life. You know.
Thank you.
I was a soldier in Senegal.
Oh, cool. I did 2 years in the Army. After my 2 years, I worked private security.
Security. Okay. So you're going to pursue a security job? Oh, yeah. Well, best of luck, man. I appreciate you guys. Hope everything goes well. See you guys later. See you, man. Yeah, see you guys. After stopping to speak for a bit, the group of Senegalese men headed westbound toward the border patrols. We, however, kept driving. As you continue to drive along the border wall, you can see people popping out from under the wall in a specific part of the fence that's being guarded by an SUV on the Mexican side. Nearby, I see a group of mothers and children who appear to have recently just crossed the wall. They tell me they're migrants from Michoacán. The mother of these children, who personally financed their trip, says she's willing to talk to me.
Mi pregunta es, ¿cómo fue tu vida en México?
Pues muy cruel, hay muchos asaltos, matación, todo eso.
¿Es muy pobre?
Sí.
¿Por qué quieres ir a los Estados Unidos?
Porque como le comenté, estamos huyendo de la delincuencia y para un futuro para mis hijos.
¿Qué quieres para tus hijos?
Pues que estudien allá.
¿Hoy es tu primera vez en los Estados Unidos?
Sí, es la primera vez.
¿Y qué piensas?
Pues que pues echarle ganas con mis hijos, sacarlos adelante y no sacarlos de la violencia.
¿Hay mucha violencia?
Sí, mucha. Por la gente que anda pues así, como robando, quitando a los niños y todo.
Pero es peligrosa para los niños también.
Sí, es peligroso.
¿Qué tipo de trabajo prefieres?
Pues yo de trabajo que sea un trabajo.
¿Tienes planes para asilo?
Sí, para eso vengo, porque me den apoyo.
¿Qué significa asilo?
Pues que ayudan a las personas con los niños que vienen de México para acá.
¿Es una procesa fácil?
Pues yo digo que sí.
¿Y vas a solo hablar con una amiga y decir que tengo problemas con el país?
Así es.
Sí. ¿Quieres una ciudad? ¿Qué quiere decir?
A California.
¿California? ¿Qué ciudad en California?
Victorville.
Victorville.
Ajá.
¿Tienes familia en Victorville?
Sí.
¿Fue tan caro el viaje?
Sí, pues claro.
¿Cuánto?
10.
¿10,000 para cada persona o todo?
Para los viajes y más sí, cada persona.
¿Has ido a trabajar para un año para eso, sí?
Sí.
¿Y tienes miedo de deportar?
Pues sí tengo.
Sí. Pero no sabes ahora si eso es tu futuro.
Pues no sé. Dependiendo ya de que esté allá con la migra, ellos deciden.
¿Qué piensas sobre la migra?
Pues yo pienso que nos van a ayudar, ¿no? Para eso vamos. Ojalá nos ayuden.
Cuando tú fuiste joven, ¿tienes sueños de los Estados Unidos?
Pues sí tengo sueños.
¿Por qué?
Pues porque pues, dicen que hay mucho trabajo bien y todo.
¿Piensas que todas las personas en México quieren ir aquí?
Yo digo que sí.
¿Qué piensas? Ok, muchas gracias. Hasta luego. Sí. Midway through my shoot, I had an interesting revelation. It seemed that almost every migrant of Latin American descent, particularly Mexicans that I talked to, said they were leaving their hometown because of threats from gangs or being kidnapped by the cartel. In our previous episode, Arizona Border Crisis, we spoke to two different migrants, Alberto and Roberto, who reported similar stories.
Por los carteles los sacaron, se sacaron de las casas.
¿Qué ciudad de México, Dios?
De Veracruz, es que gobierna el cártel de Jalisco.
Sí.
Sí, pues te piden cuenta y como si no tienes dinero, ¿de dónde le vas a dar?
Sí.
Pues te sacan de tus casas. Somos el grupo Macacetas y estamos amenazados que no podemos regresar.
Hay mucho movimiento de eso de las drogas y todo.
Sí.
Mucho.
However, many locals and law enforcement personnel believe they're being disingenuous when they make these sorts of claims because applying for asylum requires the proof of persecution or imminent danger. During the asylum-seeking process, it's typically not enough to declare that you're simply poor and looking for a better life elsewhere. You have to provide ample justification that it's actually dangerous for you to stay in your hometown or your own country. And even then, many claims are rejected. And so claiming that the cartel is personally after you is a really easy way to be granted asylum, especially because there's no real intelligence apparatus to confirm or deny the authenticity of this threat. The concerned citizen of mysterious origin who we met at the Arizona border last episode claims that cartel coyotes that control the human smuggling route around the Lukeville Gringo Pass area are coaching these migrants in how to explain themselves to press and border patrol agents.
The cartel or somebody is coaching them because they virtually say the same thing. Oh, that their lives are in danger from gangs in these areas, and they've been threatened with kidnapping, and we've even found a notebook that had those kind of answers written down as if the person knew the person these statements to say when they were being confronted with the border patrol.
To be honest, this makes perfect sense. I'm not for a second dismissing that narco-violence has had a significantly negative impact on the civilian population of Mexico, especially in places like Ciudad Juarez, where hundreds of women have been found murdered for no apparent reason. But I found it difficult to believe that cartels were systematically kidnapping local children in their own communities and squeezing their non-affiliated, already struggling parents for ransom pesos. It seemed like they had bigger fish to fry, like supplying the open-air trank market in Philadelphia or the fentanyl market of San Francisco. That being said, even if these migrants weren't lying, or at least greatly exaggerating the cartel threat,
they've still gone to extreme lengths to reach the United States. So their situation back home is obviously pretty hopeless. If anything, it's more sad that they have to present their situation in this way in order to engage on immigration rules. However, some people, like the gentleman we interviewed, believe even the proper country to come from is also
the part that alarms me, what you used to see 10 years ago, you would find these cheap Chinese-made camouflage backpacks that were purchased by the crossers, these border companies, and they would get across the border. The backpacks would invariably break or something like that. Now we're finding these Louis Vuitton leather backpacks. We found one just the other day that was lying on the ground. We opened it up. The top compartment, there was a bottle of cologne and a UCB-C cord.
Yeah, this is a different demographic. I decided to walk through the Sonora Desert to see if what the man was saying was true by inspecting backpacks left behind by migrants.
You guys guess what it is? USB.
Can you move? God damn. Fuck off me, man.
Obviously in America it's not allowed. But internationally, I would assume it is a variant, not leads to another desert as a whole, solely as a result of dehydration, is staggering. This in mind, 75% of migrant deaths happen in the summer months, so it's no surprise the winter months of December and January see the highest migrant traffic by large numbers.
Where are you coming from?
Yeah, I'm from West Africa.
Oh shit.
From Guinea, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no easy ball. Yeah, by God in power, you know? Respect.
How long has your journey been so far?
Oh, though. Nothing to say. That's fucked up, though.
How'd you get to Mexico?
Oh, yeah, so let me drink some of that water fresh after that, so we can talk, okay?
You want some water? Yeah. We got some, brother, we got some. How long ago did you leave Guinea?
It's been a 2 week.
Okay.
Guinea, after Guinea, so Senegal, Dakar,
to take to the plane to go Istanbul, 28 hours to Istanbul, then Istanbul to Bogota, San Salvador, Nicaragua, to pick up the car, to go to the borderline, to Nicaragua and Honduras, you know, then to immigration Honduras, just to take one paper, you know, then take a bus, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, the cop is Mexico.
Cops.
Yeah, man.
Like the Mexican border.
Mexican boy, yo, I spending $5,000.
They extorted you.
Yeah, though. The guy is taking me my watch, my heart, and my AirPod, you know, because I don't have the money, man, you know, in my pocket. I use my car. Yeah, my bank, my car bank, you know.
So you finally made it to Mexico, and then what happened?
And finally, Mexico, we take one bus to go Chapachula. Chapachula is too far. Then, Chapachula, we take one bus again to continue Arriaga again, we take a taxi, the yellow car, then buy a horse, 3 cycles to buy, after that, Uchitan. Then after Uchitan, Mexico City, we go to the bus station, buy a ticket, bus ticket, 1,070 miles.
From us in Mexico City.
2,070 miles.
You ended up near here.
2 days and north. You know, then went around there. So, it's money. Mexico went to the bus station. She got so much love for me. Yeah, she followed me and that's the first. This is the Mexico bus station. You know how it is. Yeah, just like 1 year. You know, it's party. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Back. It's not easy. Oh, thank God.
What's your plan now, bro?
My plan, the next step is after this difficult place. So, that's in God power.
As the sun began to set and darkness, we figured it was safer to go back to the cities. When we returned, migrant population had doubled, and spirits were considerably lower than they were in the early afternoon when we first arrived. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Tienes hambre? ¿Dónde eres?
De Guatemala. Sí.
¿Estás bien?
Sí.
¿Qué pasa, mi amigo?
Tengo hambre.
Sí. ¿Cómo fue tu viaje?
Está mal. Estoy muriendo de hambre. Solo agua no está.
¿Quieres comida? Yo tengo. Yo tengo tu car, ¿eh? ¿Qué es tu nombre?
Miguel.
¿Cuántos años tienes?
Tengo 34.
34.
¿Hijos o hijas?
Sí, tengo. Tengo 4. Son 6.
Tengo 4, but I have 6 fucking children, bro.
¿Y ellos viven en Guatemala?
Sí, viven en Guatemala.
¿Y por qué viajes a los Estados Unidos?
Es que allá no tengo terreno, no tengo casa donde vivir. Por esta razón tengo que viajar. Sí, pero tengo que esperar la voluntad de Dios. Sí.
¿Crees en Dios?
Sí, soy cristiano.
¿Católico o no?
No, soy evangélico. Sí, soy evangélico.
¿Y qué quieres hacer aquí en los Estados Unidos?
Quiero superar, sacar adelante mi familia.
¿Quieres trabajar?
Sí, quiero trabajar.
¿Qué tipo de trabajo quieres hacer?
Lo que caiga, yo rasque mi vida. Sí.
¿Tienes una ciudad que quieres ir o no?
Lo que sea. Sí. Ya me va a encontrar allá en Estados Unidos. Sí.
¿Cuál es tu primer
primera vez en los Estados Unidos?
Primera vez.
¿Qué piensas?
Sí, sí estoy pensando en viajar, pero lamentablemente me salió muy mal el viaje.
¿Qué no pasó en la viaje?
Pues mira, cuántos días ya llevo un mes de venir acá y pasar en los bodegas y así está pasando también. Es que no hay comida, no hay nada. Sí.
¿Cuántos días fue tu viaje?
30 días. Me llevo 30 días, un mes cabal.
¿Qué no fue caro? ¿Cuánto cuesta para todo?
¿Cómo así? Y como para pagar
¿Fue peligroso?
Sí, fue peligroso.
¿Por qué? ¿Sientes que la gente americana está bien?
Vamos a unos...
Midway through my KvKGsG, I began to put two and two together. When Miguel referred to having to hide on the he wasn't referring to coyotes. He may have been referring to one of the many small border militias that often mark the perimeter of the border fence.
They say they're not breaking.
In many documented cases, these militia groups are alleged to have opened fire indiscriminately on migrants crossing state lines. ¿Tienes familia o amigos aquí? ¿Solo? ¿Vas a hacer asilo político?
Sí. No sé, me conseguir un trabajo. Necesito recuperar mi familia.
¿Tienes esposa?
Sí, tengo. Puedes tener que estar.
¿Qué tipos de trabajo te gustan?
Lo que hay no voy a trabajar. Lo que sea.
¿Puedes hablar inglés?
No puedo. Tú solo español.
Puedes decir cosas como hello en inglés, sí.
Puede ser aprendiendo.
Gente de pobreza, ¿no? Fue joven, pobreza también.
Sí, pobre. No tengo casa, no tengo casa. Ahora mismo, por eso tengo que ir a ganar dinero para...
¿Vives de familia ahora en una casa? Hay mucha violencia en Soon after our conversation, began gathering in single file. Leave the migrant processing center at 6:30 p.m. supporting often called migrant and heading to the west to commit. Hola, bienvenidos, ¿cómo está? ¿Cuántos días? ¿Estás bien? ¿Así no? Muy cerca. ¿Quieres decir una cosa para los americanos?
Well, please support us. Okay. Oh.
And to my surprise, more and more migrants began urging all members to head toward the bus. I wanted to speak to some more people about what their journey was like and what sort of life they expect in the United States, but it seemed like the commuter bus was probably reaching its maximum capacity given the amount of people I saw gathering around. Before I think of this close to the commuter group was actually in line for a border patrol checking by passengers.
in Guatemala, and initially told me they left because of violence and extortions. ¿Qué tipo de violencia? Okay. ¿Y ustedes tienen familia aquí? ¿Tus hijos están aquí?
Y yo vengo luchando para estar con ellos y intenté 2 veces, pero nada más quedó un tiro.
¿Cuántos años? ¿Qué tipo de trabajo quieres hacer?
Pues a mí me encanta trabajar en casa, en el restaurante y cuidar de mi familia.
¿Difícil para cruzar la frontera? ¿Fue caro o no?
Pues la verdad es que como venimos así viajando con nuestra propia renta, pero sí, 18
Cada persona. ¿Piensas que América es una tierra de oportunidad?
sí, lo que es la verdad.
Sí.
Porque yo de trabajar y, o sea, quitar las cosas
I began to learn that it wasn't necessarily safety or quality of life that made America a better choice than Central America. You're actually much more likely to become a victim of property crime in somewhere like Detroit, New Orleans, Baltimore, or even San Francisco than you are in rural Honduras or Guatemala. It more has to do with our minimum wage and the dramatically inflated value of the U.S. dollar in developing nations. For some perspective on just how lopsided our economies are, let's use the standard 9-to-5 American work week as a measurement unit. So that's 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, totaling 40 hours of work every week. With our federal minimum wage, which is about $7.25 an hour, that would mean the average American minimum wage worker makes $290 US per week before taxes. If you work that same job in Guatemala City, under the minimum wage that they said, which is weekly, not hourly, you make 846 quetzales a week, which is about $108 US. Meaning, even if you're making the bare minimum in America, washing dishes, picking berries, or cleaning houses, you'd still be making triple what you make in Guatemala or Honduras working the exact same job. It's almost common sense for a lot of these migrants to enter America, work as hard as they can, save up a bunch of money, and then go live a nice life back in their home country. And on a domestic level, it's actually happening in America, especially on the West Coast, due to the skyrocketing cost of living, absurdly high tax rates, and overall mismanagement of California.
The LAO said lawmakers and the governor should consider billions in cuts to programs, including those related to education, the environment, and transportation.
Hundreds of thousands of upper-income Californians, especially those working in the tech sector, where stay-at-home remote work has become the norm, have fled the state en masse to reside elsewhere, in states like Arizona, Idaho, Montana, and of course, Texas, where the cost of living is significantly lower and the tax codes are much more relaxed.
3 big names in tech are all happy for Texas.
It has to do with taxes. The states that have been winning more recently are the states that don't have any state income tax or taxes.
This mass exodus of Californians has disrupted the economies and political landscapes of many of these states, causing many Texans to adopt slogans like "Don't get by Texas," which refers to the progressive political views often held by California's economic migrants, who are, of course, seeking tax havens in red states. Texas doesn't want you. Politics aside, these migrations have been successful in saving Californians a ton of money in the long run. To be honest, I personally moved out of California for economic purposes as well, to save money and to be able to provide my family with a higher standard of living. And I wasn't fleeing any kind of danger or poverty. So aside from being a federally tax-paying citizen, what's the difference between me and someone immigrating illegally? It almost feels like they have more of a right to immigrate to America than I do to a red state. It's not my job whether to say that illegal immigration is right or wrong, but I'm just saying, from a market, like hustle standpoint, it makes sense, especially if the border is wide open now. Anyways, as the buses prepared to leave, a final group of stragglers arrived, speaking Bengali. They said they were from Bangladesh. I've never met anybody from Bangladesh, except a taxi driver in New York City 6 years ago who told me that the traffic in Bangladesh's capital city, Dhaka, was so bad it drove him into a suicidal state of depression, prompting a permanent exodus from his home country. I wanted to interview these migrants, but unfortunately, I don't speak a word of Bengali yet. Still, that didn't stop me. But bear in mind, as you watch this, that I have no idea what they're saying.
স্বাধীন দেশ গণতন্ত্রের জন্য উদার
এই জন্য আমি আসছি, কারণ আমি জীবন রক্ষা করতে আসছি। আমার বোন রয়েছে, আমার ভাই চাকরি চলে গেছে, প্রাইমারি স্কুলে চাকরি করে সে প্লাস হইলে আমার ওয়াইফ একজন প্রাইমারি স্কুলের টিচার, সরকারি টিচার মুসলমান। 7 অক্টোবর 1900। আমার জন্ম তারিখ 12/6/84। আমার নাম মোহাম্মদ আব্দুল আওয়াজ, পাবনা জেলায় আমাদের বাসা।
Muhammad comes from Gaza, Israel, a majority Muslim city of 3 million.
আমি দিল্লির সাথে জড়িত। 21শে ফেব্রুয়ারি 2000 আহমেদের নেতৃত্বে এলটিভিতে যোগদান করি। এলটিভি পার্টি আমার খুব ভালো লাগে, কারণ এলটিভি পার্টির একটা নীতি আছে, আর অন্যান্য পার্টির নীতি নাই। আমাদের পার্টির নীতি নাই। কারণ
This is all very, very interesting. Muhammad is a member of the Liberal Democratic Party in Bangladesh, a group led by Boli Ahmed, a revolutionary